For centuries, human beings have relentlessly dug into the cold, silent earth,
searching for the scattered fragments of our own origins.
We sift through the dust of forgotten millennia to find a fractured skull,
a shattered femur, or a primitive stone tool left behind in the dark corners of prehistoric caves.
We have built our entire understanding of human evolution on the physical remnants of the dead.
But what if the most profound graveyard in the history of our world is not buried under layers of sediment and stone?
Is currently flowing right now, silently, through your own veins. In the study of evolutionary anthropology, the fossil record is our primary guiding light.
But in recent years, a new kind of archaeology has emerged.
One that does not rely on shovels or carbon dating.
The speed of the breakthrough was unprecedented. Dr. Anya Sharma had finally unraveled the complete secret.
When modern paleogeneticists began analyzing the DNA of contemporary human populations,
specifically within certain regions of West Africa,
deep within the genetic code, hidden among the familiar markers of Homo sapiens, they estimated that anywhere from 2 to 19% of the genetic material
in these specific populations did not match any known human ancestor.
it did not match our direct Homo sapiens lineage. It did not match the Neanderthals of the freezing European tundras. And it did not match the Denisovans of the high Asian mountain ranges. It belonged to an entity entirely unknown to modern science.
Researchers refer to them in academic literature as a ghost population. It is hypothesized that this was an archaic hominin lineage, a parallel species of ancient humans that existed alongside us, hunted alongside us, and lived out their lives on the very same planet, yet vanished without leaving a single physical trace.
There are no thoughts.
There are no cave paintings. There are no footprints frozen in volcanic ash.
Their entire existence, their entire history as a biological species,
who were these faceless phantoms of the Pleistocene epoch? And more importantly,
What terrifying evolutionary event forced our ancestors to cross paths with them? The answer, scientists suggest, lies not in a story of conquest, but in a desperate struggle against an invisible environmental pressure.
To understand this mystery, we must rewind the evolutionary clock.
Tens of thousands of years to the extreme volatility of the Ice Age.
The Pleistocene was an unforgiven, hostile era characterized by violent climatic shifts.
Early Homo sapiens were pushed out of their familiar ecological niches. They became nomadic wanderers, forced to constantly migrate across vast, uncharted territories. When we imagine the prehistoric wilderness, our minds often conjure images of apex predators.
Crouched low, the archaic human waits, hoping the great pass by undetected.
Or the giant cave bears lurking in the shadows.
But evolutionary epidemiology points to a much more chilling reality. The greatest threat to the survival of the human species was not equipped with massive fangs or razor-sharp claws.
As the vortex expanded, the researcher was pulled into the digitized swarm. There was no escape.
As our ancestors pushed into new, isolated geographical regions,
They stepped into ecological zones that had been separated for hundreds of thousands of years.
And waiting for them.
were localized ancient pathogens.
These were prehistoric superviruses, ancient parasites, and bacterial strains.
That had evolved and perfected their lethal efficiency over countless millennia in those specific regions.
This presented a terrifying biological paradox for early humans.
The Homo sapiens immune system was completely naive.
Because they had never encountered these specific regional pathogens before,
Our ancestors possessed absolutely no natural antibodies to fight them off.
can take a species tens of thousands of years of trial, error, and immense generational turnover.
But an aggressive virus, or a waterborne parasite,
Can sweep through an entirely naive migrating population in a matter of weeks.
imagine the profound vulnerability of our early ancestors.
Around the flickering light of a campfire, they watched their strongest members succumb to invisible forces
They could not see or comprehend. Fevers that burned through the night.
Inexplicable illnesses that withered the body in a matter of days.
They had survived the freezing winters, outsmarted the largest beasts of the land. Our ancestors were standing at the edge of an evolutionary precipice.
It was in this desperate darkness that a monumental biological event occurred.
Paleogenetic research, particularly the analysis of the MUC7 gene and specific HLA gene clusters, provides the critical evidence. The MUC7 gene dictates the production of a specific salivary protein.
And just like that,
The HLA complex acts as the surveillance system of the immune system, identifying The conclusion is a haunting reality of our evolutionary journey.
When our migrating ancestors entered these hostile territories, they were not the first humanoids to arrive.
The ghost population had already been living in these specific regions for hundreds of thousands of years. Through grueling natural selection, this unknown hominin species had already endured the brutal process of adaptation.
They had already paid the evolutionary price, forging a localized, highly advanced immune system.
And in the overlapping shadows of the ancient world, these two distinct human species crossed paths. Through the biological process known as genetic introgression, early Homo sapiens interbred with this localized ghost species. In doing so, our ancestors bypassed tens of thousands of years of slow evolutionary adaptation. They did not conquer their environment through superior intelligence or advanced weaponry. They survived by absorbing the genetic armor of another species. I breathe the poison, and it becomes me. I am survival.
It provided early Homo sapiens with an instant, inherited resistance to the lethal regional pathogens.
Yet, despite possessing this superior, localized genetic defense, the ghost population ultimately vanished. Perhaps they could not adapt to subsequent violent climate shifts, or perhaps they were slowly outcompeted for dwindling ecological resources.
They disappeared entirely from the physical record.
We are not a pure lineage.
Homo sapiens survived because we are an evolutionary chimera. The phantom hominins did not truly die out. They simply dissolved into us. The physical form was reclaimed by the earth. Their ancient defensive shields are still tirelessly fighting within the white blood cells and the saliva of modern human beings.
If you are fascinated by the hidden chapters of our evolutionary history and the incredible